In a quiet mountain village where time seemed to move slower than the wind, there lived an old woman who had become a living legend among the villagers. Her wrinkled face carried the marks of years gone by, but it was her radiant smile that drew people toward her. No matter the season, no matter the circumstance, she was always seen humming softly, greeting everyone with warmth and kindness. When drought struck and crops withered under the merciless sun, she still walked through the streets with a calmness that baffled others. When sickness spread and families mourned, she could be found comforting those who were grieving, her presence a source of peace in their despair. People whispered about her in awe, wondering how she remained so joyful in a world full of pain. To the children, she was like a grandmother of the village, offering sweets and stories beneath the old oak tree. To the adults, she was a mystery, someone who had mastered something they could not understand. Her small home at the edge of the village was always open, always filled with the smell of herbs and the sound of laughter. She lived alone, yet never seemed lonely. Even strangers passing through could feel a strange comfort in her presence, as if she carried light wherever she went. Her secret was unknown, but her happiness was undeniable, a quiet strength that made people wonder what lay behind that everlasting smile. One day, a traveler arrived in the village, weary from his long journey and burdened by the weight of his own troubles. He had heard tales of an old woman who never seemed to frown, no matter what life threw at her, and curiosity led him to seek her out. As he walked through the narrow paths, villagers pointed him toward her little cottage, surrounded by blooming flowers, even though it was the dry season. When he finally reached her doorstep, she welcomed him as if she had known him all her life, offering him tea brewed from mountain herbs. The traveler studied her face closely, searching for signs of sorrow or pretense, but all he found was genuine peace. After a while, he couldn't hold his curiosity any longer and asked her how she managed to stay so happy when everyone else seemed crushed by their worries. She chuckled softly, her eyes shining with understanding, and told him that happiness was not a gift given by fate, but a skill learned through time. The traveler leaned closer, intrigued by her words, eager to know the secret behind her calmness. He expected her to speak of wealth, luck, or hidden wisdom, but her tone was simple, grounded, and filled with quiet strength. As they talked, he realized that her happiness wasn't loud or forced. It flowed from her like sunlight through leaves, natural and effortless, as though she had discovered a truth the world had long forgotten. As the traveler listened, the old woman began to speak of her past, her voice calm but carrying the weight of years gone by. She told him she had once been a wife and a mother, living a life filled with love and laughter, until fate took both her husband and her child in a single harsh winter. For many years, she had lived with grief so deep it felt like a shadow following her everywhere. There were days when she didn't want to rise from bed, when even breathing felt like a burden. Poverty struck soon after, and she was left to survive on her own, working in the fields and mending clothes for others. Loneliness became her only companion. Yet even in that silence, she began to notice the small things she had once ignored. The warmth of sunlight through her window, the sound of rain on her roof, the kindness of a stranger who shared bread. Slowly, she learned to stop asking why life was cruel and started to see how every loss had carved space inside her for understanding and compassion. The same world that once broke her began to heal her when she stopped fighting against it. The traveler sat quietly as she spoke, realizing that her happiness wasn't born from a life without pain, but from surviving it and still choosing to see beauty in what remained. Her smile, he understood, was not denial but acceptance. She told the traveler that the real turning point in her life came when she stopped trying to control everything that happened to her. For years, she had fought against her circumstances, believing that happiness would return only when life became easier, when the pain was gone, when the world finally treated her kindly. But one morning, as she sat watching the sunrise after a sleepless night, something shifted within her. She realized that the sun rose regardless of her sorrow. The wind still moved through the trees. The river still flowed quietly down the valley. Life did not stop for her grief. It simply continued. And in that quiet moment, she understood that resisting what already is only deepens suffering. Acceptance, she said, does not mean giving up. It means understanding that we cannot change the waves, but we can learn how to float. She began practicing acceptance in small things first, when it rained on her washing, when the food burned on the stove, when people spoke unkindly. Instead of reacting with frustration, she learned to breathe and let things be. Slowly, peace replaced the need to control. When tragedy struck again, she faced it differently, with grace instead of anger. The traveler could sense that her calmness came not from ignorance of pain, but from her ability to embrace it, to see every situation as a teacher rather than a punishment, a chance to understand life a little deeper. She explained to the traveler that happiness did not arrive overnight. It was something she practiced, just like tending a garden each day. Her first practice was gratitude. Every morning before stepping outside, she would name three things she was thankful for, no matter how small: a warm cup of tea, the song of a bird, the sound of laughter in the distance. She said gratitude turns what we have into enough, and enough into joy. Her second practice was faith, not in miracles or luck, but in the belief that every event in life carries meaning, even when unseen. She believed that the same life that brought her storms also gave her strength to endure them. And then there was presence. She had learned to live fully in each moment instead of being trapped in memories or worries about the future. When she cooked, she focused on the smell of herbs and the warmth of the fire. When she walked, she felt the earth beneath her feet. Through these simple habits, she trained her mind to return again and again to peace. She told the traveler that happiness is like a muscle. It grows stronger the more you use it. Most people wait for perfect days to feel joy, but she had learned to create joy in imperfect ones. The traveler noticed how her words carried no grand philosophy, just quiet truths shaped by years of living and observing life closely. The old woman looked at the traveler and smiled as she spoke her final words, revealing the heart of her secret. She said happiness isn't something you find outside of yourself. It's something you carry within, something that no storm or sorrow can take away once you understand it. She explained that most people spend their lives chasing things they think will make them happy: money, love, success, approval. But even when they get them, peace slips away because it depends on things that can change. She learned long ago that true happiness doesn't come from what happens, but from how you choose to see what happens. When life gives pain, you can see it as punishment or as a lesson. When life takes something away, you can mourn endlessly or be grateful for the time you had it. Her happiness, she said, came from this choice: to see everything, even suffering, as part of the same beautiful journey. The traveler listened silently, feeling as though he had discovered something precious, something he had been searching for without knowing it. The old woman's smile seemed to hold centuries of wisdom, a living proof that peace was possible even in chaos. As he prepared to leave, he realized she had not given him a set of rules, but a way of seeing, a way of living that could turn any situation, no matter how painful, into an opportunity to remain whole, calm, and quietly joyful.